el derecho de vivir. Poeta Ho Chi Minh, que golpea de Vietnam a toda la humanidad. Ningún cañón borrará el surco de tu arrozal, el derecho de vivir en paz.
Mekong NYC is a social justice organization that brings dignity and value to the lives of Southeast Asians in the Bronx and throughout New York City. We do this through community organizing and movement building, centering healing through arts and culture, and creating a strong safety net rooted in community power. After the ends of the wars in Southeast Asia and the Refugee Act of 1980, over 1.2 million Southeast Asians resettled throughout the United States, usually in lower socioeconomic areas, including Bronx. Our community was forcibly displaced and resettled into another colonial project where they faced discriminatory treatment alongside their Black and brown neighbors. At this time, the Bronx was literally burning. 80% of Bronx homes were lost due to fires, with 250,000 Bronx residents displaced from their homes as a result. While media narratives blame residents for this period of devastation, the fires were more accurately resulted from landlord arsonists destroying homes in the name of profit and the failure of the city government to protect its residents. This disinvestment in the Bronx included cutting public funding, shutting down fire departments, and weakening general infrastructure. Additionally, redlining, the discriminatory practice of denying financial services like mortgages and insurance to residents of a neighborhood based off of race, and the construction and abandonment of high-rise housing projects furthered displacement and instability. So Bronx residents face poverty, violence, and cultural alienation with little access to aid from their own government. In 2012, CAB, Organizing Asian Communities, and the Community Development Project of the Urban Justice Center published a research assessment of the Southeast Asian community of the Bronx. They stated that young Southeast Asians were facing a, quote, cultural crisis, with cultural and linguistic isolation barring people from employment and resources, straining family relationships, and correlating very highly with physical and mental health issues. So Mekong NYC was founded out of community need. The Southeast Asian youth organizers, who are founders, organized rallies at local welfare offices to bring attention to community struggles after the 1996 welfare reforms in New York City. Over 10 years later, Mekong NYC has grown into a grassroots organization of 14 staff members and 6 youth fellows, focusing on direct services such as language interpretation, resource referral, intergenerational cultural and artistic programming, and advocacy around city and federal policy, individual campaigns, and multiracial coalitional work. So in 2025, while the demographics of the Bronx have changed and Southeast Asians have moved around the 5 boroughs, moved out of New York, or more have come into New York in recent years, we continue to be a sort of pillar of support for the Southeast Asian community in the city, and we also build coalitional relationships throughout the U.S. as well. So as of 2025, there's over 6,000 Southeast Asians in the Bronx, including 20,000 Vietnamese and 6,000 Cambodian people living throughout all 5 boroughs. 50 years later, we're continuing to attempt to make sense of living in a settler colonial state that actively marginalizes and oppresses its citizens, all while trying to rectify our own people's history of war, genocide, and assimilatory violence. In the face of the recently inaugurated administration, Mekong NYC maintains a steadfast commitment to protect the legal status and, more importantly, the dignity of our community members. Though this is not a new issue, we're facing a particular intensity as more and more of our community members are being targeted for detention and deportation. We are working to provide rapid response and anti-deportation work for our community members. I want to close with a sort of pragmatic thing that you can do to help the Southeast Asian community in the Bronx, which is highlight our anti-deportation work. One of our public campaigns is for Sammy, who is a community member in his 50s, who lives in Brooklyn for over years, lives in Brooklyn with his family. He came to the US in 1981, and he was incarcerated for a total of 14 years in his lifetime for a crime he convicted when he was a teenager. Because at the time of his conviction, he was a green card holder, he was not ever able to become a naturalized citizen. And now he is facing risk of deportation to Laos after a lifetime in the US. He has no family in Laos. And all of his friends and family are here in Brooklyn. And unfortunately, this is a common story. It's happening to people within our community. It's happened to other people in the US as well, not just the Southeast Asian community. So his ICE check-in is on June 5th, where we predict he will probably be detained. But there's sort of one thing that we can kind of work on. The Governor Mitchell she has the unilateral ability to grant clemency and pardons for individual cases. So we are working on putting together a petition of people who are asking her to grant him pardon. And you can sign that, and we will send that over to her before his check-in. If you want a link to the petition, just come talk to me afterwards. You can also access it through our website, which is Mekong NYC.org. I wanted to say thank you for your time, and that this is a really good reminder that all of our struggles are connected, and that's not something we should ever forget. Free Palestine, free them all, and fascist abolition.